thank you for inviting me here in West Virginia.
Well, you're certainly welcome to come. We're glad to have you here at the office, Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity for the state of West Virginia.
Now, you know, we talked a little bit beforehand, and your office, I mean, the Economic Development Office, or what do you, Economic Opportunity?
Economic Opportunity.
Opportunity, okay. And it'd be called different things in different states, right?
That's correct.
Right. But it's basically, the target audience is who again?
The target audience for CSBG, that's Community Service Block Grant Funds,
right,
is to help folks who live below the 125% poverty line. Then this is tandemed with the Weatherization Assistance Program, which helps people and homeowners who live below the 150% poverty line.
I see. So it's lower income, and they, for most of your programs, and this is true for most community action agency programs, it's like 150 or 125% of poverty line and below.
That's the national guideline that's given to us by the Office of Community Service and by the Department of Energy.
Now, does every state have to follow that guideline? I mean, I know in some programs they have guidelines, and then the state will, you know, make it a little higher for their state or something like that.
Well, when it comes to working with Department of Energy, and you're working with the Office of Community Service, that is a hard line. That's a fixed line that they have to work
150%. And we mentioned earlier, for a family of four, that's like $24,000 or $25,000 in that range.
Good rule of thumb.
And also, I found at least in other programs, if you're close, it's good to contact anyway. I mean, you know, if I make it 2501 or something like that, I don't know about energy, but some programs.
Well, make the contact.
Yes.
You definitely need to make the contact,
right,
because in the program, once you enter the doors, and really all of this is administered through a community action program, once you enter those doors, they begin a case management process on you and the members of your family and household. So if you walk in and you've got a 4-year-old child, that child immediately is going to pop up on the radar as being eligible for Head Start.
I see.
And then for other things such as low-income emergency heat assistance, which comes in the winter months, and now with the energy rates at the level they are, yeah, we've got to have some help.
Yeah, I think you're gonna. Yeah, what's going to happen this year? You think they're going to have to put in more money real quick for this winter, or?
Well, of course, we're on the receiving end at the state level. Those decisions have to be made by Congress and the administration. Now, one of the shocking things we've battled for the last 7 years, now the 8th year, is that every year they have tried to zero out the community service block grant money out of the budget.
I mean, and that's not the energy heating stuff. That's just all the other services for community service block grant.
That's that as well, but they've also tried to do with the Weatherization Assistance Program. So somewhere in this, it looks to me like that the poor folks have fallen off the face of the earth.
And it's not it seems to be, at least in this economy, it's not a shrinking population either.
No, it's an ever-growing. In fact, the poverty level is going to expand more and more. Mm-hmm. And of course, you understand with the number of jobs and industries that is left. Well, here in the state of West Virginia, we've had a tremendous loss of industry. If it was not for the staples that we have with our energy, with coal, oil, and gas, and that production, and the education in our medical programs, we would be suffering even greater. But that's been a leveling factor. But the city that you're in today, Charleston, has a sister community called South Charleston, West Virginia. For many years was called the Chemical Center of the World.
You mean chemical manufacturing?
Union Carbide, Westvaco, FMC, DuPont is still with us. Dow has, of course, done a horizontal merger. Now Union Carbide's gone. Where we one time had literally tens of thousands of chemical industry jobs. They've evaporated and gone.
Now, I assume, I'm not smart enough to know all this, but we're restructuring the entire economy somehow. And I don't know where it's going, but it's not going where it was. And we got to prepare, it seems, our workforce, and the people are getting hurt by this change in the economy that's happening.
Well, the world economy. We are no longer the isolated United States of America. And now here we are in this absolutely chaotic economic situation I think you've probably seen the advertisements where that last year $700 billion was transferred out of the country to buy oil. The largest.
That's some Boone Pickens ad.
Boone Pickens tells the story. It tells it quite well.
Exactly.
But when you're talking about this tremendous debt that we've incurred, we understand this Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac fiasco that's going on. They just called the day before yesterday Bloody Tuesday, as banks all across America received the no confidence letters because of their upside down loans and so forth. We're in an absolute crisis. Now, the people suffering from the crisis are not the folks that can afford to go out and get on their Learjet and hop over to Hawaii. It's the person that's got to figure out how to go down and pay for the gasoline to get from the house to the job.
And now that gasoline costs twice as much. So the community action agencies around the country, you said there's about 1,000 of them around the country?
I think maybe there's 1,100.
1,100. And so if I was, making, less than that $25,000 or whatever, so anywhere near then, it'd probably be wise to check in with these people just to see and understand what's available?
Go to your community action or call them on the phone, make an appointment, drop by the office and register.
Right.
Get on the roster.
Right.
Now, here in our own local state, even for the Weatherization Assistance Program, we have a waiting list of 2,500 homes that qualify to be weatherized, but we only get so much money annually from the federal government. So we have to disperse that out. Usually we spend about $4,000 a home.
Wow.
But when they get through, these people see a reduction in their energy bills drop as much as, in some cases, 22, 23, 27%.
Wow. So you could be spending, saving a couple $100 a month on energy bills. And that $4,000 will pay itself back pretty quickly.
Pays it back, but it doesn't cost the individual.
Right, I understand.
That's something they can have simply by going down and registering to the local community action office.
In your estimation, or you have a friend here that works with you here too, is what is the biggest hurdle that people don't, register, or misconception, or what stops people, do you feel, from getting involved in programs that could really help them?
Well, it has been our observation here, just lack of knowing where to go, who to contact, and can I do it, and will they do it for me? And of course, now
embarrassment too.
It's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
It is an embarrassment.
Yeah.
And now you're going to put this on the internet.
Yes.
All right. Many of the people that need help don't have internet.
I know.
So what you're doing, I've seen you on the television programs, like, as you say, if you've seen me, you stay up late at night. Okay, but the truth of the matter is, most poor folks manage to have a television, and informational infomercials are very, public service announcements are very vital to these people, and they need to know where, when, how, what to call.
Unfortunately, I feel, even though I'm an advertising provider, I think some of the worst places to go for help are the people who are advertising on TV, particularly on financial problems. If you have debt problems or something like that, you're going to call somebody advertising on TV who's obviously selling you more money somehow, right? Because they have to pay for that ad, as opposed to, I guess, contacting a community action agency or something that help work through something like that if you're low income.
They're not going to be charging you.
Right, exactly.
They're going to be assisting you.
Right.
And with it, they also, many community action programs have debt assistance programs.
I see, yeah.
Where they actually teach people how to do some management programs.
Right.
They have food services for the elderly. For many, many years, my aged mother, I paid $1 a day, and they came to her house and brought her.
Really? So for your mom, she was getting meals from the Community Action Agency.
That's right.
And you were paying them $1 a day for the meals.
Gave them $1 a day.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful, yeah.
And also,
so you weren't ashamed to do that?
I wasn't ashamed to do it. Right. Not ashamed to do it. Yeah. Neither was she ashamed to receive it. It did two things. Number one, she was guaranteed absolutely one nutritious meal a day. Of course, I had a niece that went over the morning and went over the evening, made sure things was intact. But she got one. It also guaranteed she was going to get a visitor that day.
I see.
So it served. It was very much more important. Yeah. And she developed a relationship with the person that brought it in. Yeah. First name basis, asked about the kids, and so it gave her something to look forward to.
So the basic services, I mean, you mentioned so far are the weatherization program, and that may be a waiting list, so it may take a year sometimes.
Could be.
Yeah, where you live to get that program. The help credit counseling, and so all the offices have different programs.
They have different functions. In fact, we've got a list here, and we have 16 such agencies in the state. Just let's hop up in the Fairmont area, and they have early Head Start at Head Start. They've got volunteer income tax assistance.
Oh, so you get your income taxes done there.
You can get your income tax.
So you don't have to go to one of these A and B blocks or something like that.
You don't have to go out, and
it's done free.
It's done free.
Yeah.
They will help them also with their child tax credit.
I see.
And if there's a time when anyone is without shelter, they have emergency shelter, and then they have an actual working employment program. You come in, they help you find a place to go to work, and they don't take $1 out of your paycheck when you get the job.
See, and to me, I go on and I look at like Craigslist and these free services and things like that, and you can put in, for employment and finding a job. And what I find you'll see is you get people who are going to sell you something. They're going to sell you resume services for $300. They're going to sell you job counseling and all this kind of stuff that really you could get for free. And if you don't have a lot of money, that's more important. You could be spending it on.
Well, first of all, the government programs ought to be, as Mr. Roosevelt said, government is not for people who have. Government is to help people who don't have to have. And so with these programs, for instance, over in the Eastern Panhandle, we've got the Telemon folks that work over there, and they have migrant seasonal farm employees. They've got adult educational classes to receive GED
So you can train to get a GED.
That's right. Yeah. Education for independence, and this especially deals with helping people cross the barrier, whether they're Hispanic or
language difficulties.
Yeah. We go to Mountain Cap. Your small business loans.
Oh, really? So at the Community Action Agency also has financial assistance for people.
That's right.
who want to start a business,
or they want to buy a home.
I see. So now that's interesting to me, because so many people think, well, the government will only give me money if I have a lot of money. But here is an agency for people who don't have much money to get money to start a business.
One of the most interesting things the other day, it was not one of our community action groups, although they are associated. Southern Appalachian Labor School has done one of the most marvelous things. They've gone out just outside of Oak Hill, West Virginia, and Dr. John David, who also works at the West Virginia University Tech program at Montgomery, put together a program. And so he had some acreage donated to his labor school. Well, the next year he had a company to come and do excavation. They donated that. The next year he put infrastructure in with donated material. And then the next year he was able to put the roads in. And now this year they're building 9 homes. Now I'll tell you something.
Wow.
Matthew, you would be glad to live in one of these homes. They're a nice 1,800 square foot house. They're selling from anywhere in West Virginia, other parts of the country, they'd sell for maybe $500,000. Here they sell for $130,000 to $135,000.
So at the going rate, what do you think that is? 130, is that like $150,000 house maybe for 130 or 200?
Well, it's an actual $130,000 house.
So that's the going rate.
That's the going scale. Here's the neat thing about it. The people who qualify for it are coming out of homeless situations.
Really?
They get a $15,000 down payment grant.
Wow.
And then they are able, through the program there, to make a monthly payment of anywhere from maybe $80 to $120 or $200, depending on what job and what their income is. After 20 years, they own it.
And 20 years? Not 30. I don't know. Mine for 30.
Right. So, but the point of it is there are programs.
Yeah.
Now, where do you find these? At your community action agencies.
So your real estate person's not going to know about these, or your banker is it, because they can't make money on it.
Well, and one of the grand things about it with community action, it is a networking of collaboratives. So on that board of directors may sit, in the community action board, may sit a local banker.
I see.
And a lawyer and a doctor. But on the other side of it, there will be a person, maybe a county commission or a mayor or a member of some legislative body. And then, because they're all run by tripartite boards, but they'll also have board members on there that come from the poverty sector of the community. So it is an empowerment.
Yeah.
It's an empowerment for the people of poverty to be able to transcend poverty and go through transition. And coming out and going through the transition, our goal is to move people from poverty to self-sufficiency.
You know, it's funny when you talk about poverty, and I grew up, I'm 65 now, so I used to think if you were poor, you were, living in the gutter or something like that, And now, this so-called working poor, like you could have a full-time job, with a family, and you're in poverty, right? And people don't realize that.
Here's a shocking thing I mentioned over here in North Central. And of course, this is offered throughout the state by many of the programs. But this child tax credit, for every child that you have, get $1,000.
This is money that even if you didn't pay taxes, they give you back, right? Right.
A mother with a minimum wage, working 30 hours a week, does not qualify to get that $1,000 back because she doesn't make enough money.
Doesn't make enough money?
Doesn't make enough money to get the $1,000 back.
That's crazy.
And so there's a few holes there that have got to be patched. But one of the things about it is working and helping the people. I'm just trying to look across this, and here's one. Up at Community Resources over in the Parkersburg area, they provide a bus transportation system. This helps people get on the bus at a very, very minimal charge, and if they can't afford it, they can get vouchers and get it from their home to their job.
I see. If you can't get to work,
if you can't get to work, what's the use to having a job?
Right.
And so, as you see budgeting counseling there with the people that's in Eastern, Kids on the Block program, emergency assistance. Kids on the Block is a program that's run up in central West Virginia that makes sure that children are taken care of with low-income families to keep them off the street, keep them supervised.
Is it daycare kind of stuff?
Well, it's
just caring.
It's just caring, period. In other words, the child gets out of school, they've got a place to go to shelter. For many, many years we worried about having one-parent children. Our biggest thing today is we have children that have no parents because both parents are working. They get off from school, they're latchkey kids. And so we've got lots of that. So there's rental assistance programs, Medicaid waiver programs, child nutrition.
You mean to get health care, that you're able to get a waiver for certain people who don't have health care?
That's right. Biggest challenge a lot of times in employment is being able to read.
Adult literacy,
Cost them nothing.
Well, now I hear data, and I don't know about you, but I remember 10 years ago, the data was 95% of people graduate from high school. It's really only 70 because they used to count just seniors who graduated.
That's right.
But now we're counting 8th grade.
We count 8th grade as a graduation. That's exactly right.
So we have a lot of people who need more help with education. So in these community action agencies, if you have a job that's going nowhere and it's very low wage, then that's a good place to check into to see what kind of programs for training or education or whatever.
You see, many a person's been out on the interstate, pulled up behind a truck, and said CDL licensed drivers, please call here. Okay, well, they need a job, they need a truck driver. Down in Wyoming County at Mountain Heart, they have a CDL license program to train people to drive heavy equipment, dump trucks, tractor trailers.
Wow. So you want to be a truck driver?
There you go.
And I would assume a class like that would cost you $10,000 or something like that. And so they're offering this for free for people who can't afford it.
This is community. This is community action.
Right.
This is giving the poor people a voice in their community and helping them move up.
And I guess, when you say a voice, I think of someone being an activist, but here this is giving them more like a foothold, self-sufficiency.
Exactly.
The tools you need in our society to get ahead. You just can't go out and wing it and make a lot of money in a factory anymore. You need more than that.
You got to have a little more than that.
Yeah.
But this is a personal empowerment program that helps people move along. Down in Raleigh County, they have a dial-a-ride transportation program.
A dial-a-ride?
Yes, sir.
That means
make the phone call, and there'll be a van.
Really? Well, like they take you to work if you couldn't make it?
Work. That's right.
Wow, that's terrific. And all these obstacles. I mean, can you imagine? I remember my wife left when I have 2 little boys. You know, she left for a week. Man, I was going crazy. I mean,
right.
And I have money. I got control of my life. And I was thinking, what you know, a young woman who has to work downtown and get there, and the kid gets sick at camp. What do you do? Yeah. And so these are the kind of help. I mean, it's really a support. You know, and that's why people say that the government, you know, maybe provides too much, or I mean, I don't care who provides the support. If you're going to provide it without the government, fine, but if nobody's doing it, it seems like the government job to do it.
It's a government job when the government also has control of where jobs are and where jobs go. Mm-hmm. When a community is left abandoned, I think immediately of Weirton, West Virginia. We just had the largest steel company in the world come to Weirton, West Virginia, which was the staple industry of Weirton, West Virginia was steel. All right, because of overseas challenges.
Right.
Now, the largest steel company in the world, which is in India, just came and bought the steel mill in Weirton.
Wow.
Did they operate it there? No. They packed it up and shipped it to India.
Wow.
So this leaves a mill that one time had 15,000 employees.
Wow.
All of a sudden, where do they get their medical benefit?
Yeah.
Where do they get a doctor?
Right.
Where do they get assistance with job?
Where do they get a job?
Where do they get a job? That's exactly right. How do they pay their utility bills? And so what I think is the real heroics of the thing is that if we can keep this money flowing to these community action services, it makes it easier for John on the street to find out where to make the phone call and get the help.
So I'm sorry.
So many times people say, "Gee, I'd like to do that. I don't know where to go do it. I don't know where to get the help."
So it's not only your program or the Community Action Agency's programs, it's there also a funnel to find out about all the programs that are available. I mean, there are federal programs, state programs, local programs, all these other programs. And they say that each agency has different ones. You know, whether they have a small business program or not, you know, maybe one agency and the other one may not. So, but to me, it seems somebody in the business, like someone at the Community Action Agency, you know, you said the counselors, I guess they would know, have a good idea of the kinds of things available.
You go into Coalfield Community Action down in Mingo County. Mr. Tim Salmons is the ED down there. You walk in and you have a need. If it's not on his radar, then he knows that Wyoming County is close by. He knows that there's also McDowell County is close by. There is Case of Southern West Virginia, which is a 4-county area. They know where to help you get help.
I don't know what it is. You know, we live in a country. I always think, you know, I grew up being John Wayne, an independent, and, you know, do-it-yourself kind of guy or whatever. That was the American dream, but it really isn't. Even John Wayne needs help. Yeah, we all need help.
One of the tragic things about the education process of America, some of it has been cinema. I think today we're living with the shock syndrome of the cinema because children have grown up watching the cartoon characters get shot and get up and live again. We've got an awful lot of deaths going on because the real world is not what's in cinema. Real people in real life have got to have help.
Right. Now, and we all needed it sometimes, and I think as a community, we decide how to help each other, you know, and if we do it through the government or through the church or whatever,
exactly.
As a community, there's various ways. And what I see is that the best help isn't advertised because they're not selling the help.
That's right. And you mentioned church. Let's see in this listing here. You got several pages of the 16. I'm looking for the one that says Change of West Virginia. Right here it is. This started out a group when the steel mills first began to collapse up in Weirton. It was a group of ministers got together.
Oh, wow.
And so they built this, and then they found out that they qualified for the CSBG money.
I see. Community
Service Block Grant money. And so now, here's the deal. In this, where they lost this, they have health and dental service clinic, and they are concentrating on the working poor.
Yeah.
They have a domestic shelter. They've got the weatherization. They've got a prescription benefit program.
Wow.
Go and get a prescription for $1.50. Okay. They got transportation after-school care program, and then they've got this alcohol and drug awareness program, where that they help people rather than despair on the bottom of the back barrel or at the end of the deal. Their deal is to help these people sustain life and not escape to destruction, but escape to something that stays
you know, if you're not poor today, you may be poor tomorrow. I see our economy and the way that, we're going. Actually, I saw data recently that if you're 40 years old, you have like a 50% chance of having 1 year in poverty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, here's the deal. All across America, and especially in our state here, it would shock you. We have a 29.8% poverty ratio now.
29. That's almost 30% of the people in this state are in poverty.
That's right. What we don't talk about is that group of people that's in the middle income.
Just got over the hump.
Just over the hump.
Yes. They're still struggling.
That's one car wreck, one major illness.
Exactly.
1 month that where they work has to shut down, and they are just one paycheck from poverty themselves. Now, what are they going to do?
Right.
Well, that's where community action is there to help them also.
Oh, it's great work. Well, thanks for doing this work.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. And it gives us a chance to talk to the public and to tell them what community action's about.
And the services are there. It just takes effort. And what is the stigma of being poor. I mean, that's not we all have.
Well, when you talk about being one paycheck from poverty, you could be one paycheck from being homeless.
Absolutely.
And right now, we've got this finance fiasco with the lending and all of the finance in the homes. We can tell you that we have 33 homeless shelters through the state that are sponsored out of this office.
Wow.
That the community action programs know where those homeless shelters are.
And not only for you, but for friends. So if you're aware about this, I mean, if you may be not in financial trouble, but you may know somebody.
Right.
And that's another thing to let people know about. Okay.
When they walk into a pastor's office, or a child in school goes into its principal's office, or a counselor's office, every one of these people need to be armed with this information.
Now, information is power. Thanks for the power.
Thank you.